Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. So we are going to talk about Scheveningen system. So I'm going to explain typical ideas for white. Let me adjust my screen sharing a little. So is there anybody who attends the webinar for the first time? And also, please let me know whether the video and audio quality is good. Okay, so Shahrat is probably for the first time today. Okay, fine. Yeah. So what's your rating? May I know? Okay, everything is good. So yesterday I was playing the game in National League of Argentina. So I'm playing for uh, Club Argentino. So in Spanish it sounds Club Argentino. So this is where the oldest chess club in Argentina. Well, we have a quite strong team, but not the best team. However, yesterday we defeated the strongest team. Well, probably the reason is because two grandmasters who usually play for that club now present Argentina in Olympiad. So while they were absent, we were able to defeat them. And yesterday I drew. I'm not satisfied with how I played. I was playing with black pieces. It was a Slav defense exchange variation. Let me show if you want. So because the game consists of how many? 69 moves. I don't want to go through the game, but I would like to, I mean, fully, but I'm going to show you some aspects. So it was Slav defense. Well, if he played something else, I would transpose to semi-Slav, but he took, so I had to play the exchange variation of Slav defense, which has a lot of drawing tendencies. And this is theoretical. And then he plays rook c1, which I forgot how to react. So here the best move is rook c8. I knew that, yes, a reaction to rook c1 should be rook c8, but I didn't play it, and for some reason I played a6 here. a6 is a mistake, but not a critical mistake. So bishop b4, trying to defend the pawn on b7, knight e5. So he wants to take here and there. And again, in this position, I should take and just defend here like that, because it's easy. So if they take with the queen, I just defend and I'm completely fine. If they take with the rook, then I take on e5, and then I have knight e4 move, which attacks this rook. And then I'm threatening with queen e5, which would force them to move with their king, and it's a danger. So I castled. Now I have to take to save my knight, and this is where I wanted to sacrifice this pawn, but take the one on a2. However, my opponent played really well. So bishop e2 is maybe not the best move. And this is where I have a problem with the knight, because they are going to chase it away. So I had to play g5. And then once they play f3, I take it. So what did happen there? a5 to exchange the queens and make a2 a weakness. Bishop d3, I took there, here, and my position is worse. So I cannot take because of their invasion, like that, or at least with rook c6. So I played this move, rook c2, rook fc8, this, a4, and then I had to defend this position. So finally, I lost a pawn, but exchanged the queens. And I managed to draw this game. I'm down a pawn, but because these pawns are doubled and because this is a rook endgame, it's very difficult to make a passed pawn. So finally, after all these things, we came to this position where he converted pawn majority to a passed pawn, but this passed pawn is a weakness. Moreover, white has to defend a2, so they cannot play with the king somewhere else because of rook a3. They have to come closer. And then with a3 I fixed, which means if somehow he captures, I don't know how actually, but if he somehow captures like that and then I exchange the rooks, my king is very close to the corner. So and then I just was able to defend the position. So this, if I play this, then rook d3 and he wins a pawn. But I want him to win a pawn and at the same time force the exchange of the rooks. So I just defended. We made a few moves. Yeah, just want to illustrate you that here, in case of the exchange, I'm closer. So I am able to reach the corner. But what if not? What if, let's say, I'm one step down, he plays this move, and then this? It still seems to be a draw, because I can just repeat the position by doing this move. So a4, this, a5, this, a6, this, and, well, he is trapped in the corner. So it still is fine. But, well... No, well, I thought it's a draw, and then since that moment it's easy defense. So we played a few more moves, and then he offered a draw, like that. It was very tough. The game lasted for more than 4 hours. So learn openings, and then you won't experience problems after rook c1 because well, exchange variation of Slav defense is very drawing, and just some proper moves and the position gets simplified. Well, okay, well, white was able to get extra pawn, but even with extra pawn he couldn't defend the position. He couldn't play for a win because the rook in games has a lot of drawing tendencies. Okay, fine. So we have a lot of participants today. Let's talk about Scheveningen, which is no, wait a sec. We have to check the homework. The homework was this position. So the first question was, can white capture on c5? No, they cannot. If they captured on c5 in the game, and this is how Sveshnikov lost. Let me show you what exactly happened. But before I show it, I'll tell you that after bishop e3, it was able to white was able to save the position. For example, if the bishops are exchanged this way, then there is no chance to penetrate the enemy camp, because b4, a4, and a5, just king comes closer. So a4, king c4, there is no time for it. But after bishop c5, wait, let me fix it. Yeah. Okay. So after bishop c5, the king is closer. So now, for example, a3, king goes to d4. I would even say this b4, a4, and then king goes to d4. And then I'm threatening with this. So this, a5. And now once the king moves, I can capture either this pawn or go to that side of the board. So king d3, king b4, king c2, king a3, king b1, a5. Looks like it's an opposition. There is no way to enter the enemy camp. But a4, take. So what do you think? Which move is better, king take or pawn take? So taking with the pawn? Oh, definitely the king should take. So because if pawn takes, then how to win? So king b4. Okay, do you see these arrows? It's the engine. I can fix it. Best move arrow. Yes. Yeah, I fixed it. So no, there is no way to enter. Then king b2, and this is just a draw because it's always opposition. So this, there is no way to enter the enemy camp. King e2. Now there is a way, but as you know, it's possible for white to shoulder the king and force it to get trapped here. So this, and they have to repeat, because if they decide to play a2, because it's a stalemate, black has to give up his pawns. So g5, and then it's winning. So for example, which move? G5, f takes g5. Now the f pawn can move, so f5 or f6, and then just g6, the pawn is promoted faster. And then just this move, pawn pushes, and the game is over. So the king has to take, and the key idea is to advance the pawn to b3, take with the king, and then go there. So king b1, because if king b2, it's this. So king b1, king a3, here, this, and b3 is finally played. The idea is to do this and move the king to that side. So pawn takes, king takes. Well, this is where Sveshnikov resigned. So you see, this is completely losing because there is no way to get these pawns protected. Black is already in the white's territory. So exchanging on c5 was a critical mistake. Homework number 2 was this position. This is where you have to make a triangle with the bishop. Doesn't really matter which exact move you play here. Let me just show the concept. Here it's white to move, but if it was black to move, then they would either move the bishop and lose the pawn, or they would play the bishop here and lose this pawn. Or they could move the king and let you enter the enemy camp with the king and capture on g6, or they would play there and let you enter here and capture on c6, which guarantees a winning position. So our task is to reach this position with the black's turn to play. That's why we can play with the bishop. So let's say bishop g2. Now they have to keep this protected. So bishop d7. Now let's play bishop f3. It's a waiting move. How do they play? Again, if they move with the king, we enter the enemy camp. So it seems that they still have to keep protecting on c6 and play this move. And now we play bishop e4. So we made the same position, but black to move. And now black either moves the king, allows us to enter with our king, or moves the bishop and loses a pawn, which also guarantees a winning position. That's it. Okay, fine. What we gonna do today? So I showed you the game. Now, well, let's talk about Scheveningen. Well, you know, I'm a Sicilian player. So I play Sicilian almost, not almost always, but very often. So it's my primary opening. And the first type of the position that I have to learn you have to learn if you want to play Sicilian is Scheveningen, which was popular for maybe 20 years. It became popular when Garry Kasparov was playing against Anatoly Karpov in 1984, then in 1985. What I don't like about the way that Garry played, let me just show it. So Scheveningen is this pawn structure. This, with the queen usually coming to c7. The queen's activity on the c file, controlling the c4 square, attacking this pawn, as well as the control over the critical square e5, is vital for such games and for such setups. That's why the queen should play there. But what I don't like here is that when the pawn is already on d6, it's possible to continue with bishop a3. And now playing Scheveningen means that a completely different setup. It's also theoretical and is considered to be playable for both, but it seems that white has a straightforward attack on the king side, and according to my experience, white is more often much faster than black. However, if you look at the database, there are a lot of games played here. So, well, for example, well, in this position, let's say, because b5 is not the main move, there are a lot of games. And the statistic shows, well, the statistic is ordinary. 43% of winning games for white and 30% winning games for black. So it's playable for both. Well, the engine, for example, thinks white is better. It says plus 0.6. I also think white is better because of their attack seems to be much faster. But of course, there are a lot of nuances. However, that's the reason, one of the reasons why Scheveningen is not popular nowadays. And I mean, this water. That's why nowadays people want to transpose to Scheveningen through neither. For example, bishop e2, e6. So here bishop a3, queen d2 is slow because bishop e2 was already played, which is not a helpful move in case if we castle to the queen side and initiate a king side pawn march. So here you castle, and here it transposed from neither. This. Well, I play a different move order. I play with c5, e6. So d4, this, a6. It provides white with some other opportunities. They can play c4, they can play bishop d3, but if they play Scheveningen regularly, it's the same position. However, here they cannot play bishop a3 because bishop b4 looks so strong. So having e6 played already on the way to Scheveningen allows me to eliminate the white's plan to castle queenside and initiate a kingside attack with their pawn march. Well, here they are in a real trouble after knight f6. It's hard to defend. Well, you probably know this position. If not, then I kindly recommend to get my course on Chessable regarding it. So it's a real trouble. So for example, if bishop d3, it's e5 and then d4 with a fork. If let's say not this, but they take, then knight takes, increasing the pressure here and there. And at least you get a bishop for a knight, and then improve your pieces, and then castle. Okay, so that's why against Sicilian, white has to choose. Either they play maybe bishop d3 or maybe c4, or knight c3, bishop d3, or play classical Scheveningen. So with bishop e2, knight f6, castle, bishop e7, bishop e3, castle f4, d6. So this is what I play. And here, one of the moves, king h1, is definitely possible. So this is what I play with black. And because I know a lot there, let me tell you about this position more and what typical ideas of white are. So by the way, those of you who play Sicilian, here b5 is also interesting move, but it's considered to be much riskier than classical queen c7. So I use classical queen c7, castle, this. So d6. These are the moves that white can potentially play. So Karpov played king h1 and then, or he played a4 first and then king h1. So what do you think? What's the best among these, how many? 5 options. So 5 options, what's the best move? What would you choose if you were white? Well, black wants to improve their bishop by either playing b5 or playing e5 in some conditions. There is also a possibility of doing bishop d7 and relocate it to c6. Okay, g4 right away. Very nice move. Bishop f3. Okay, thank you for suggestion. We are going to talk about them all. Um, so bishop f3 also. Well, so guys, what can I say? Yeah, bishop f3 is playable. Well, they all are playable. After a lot of analysis, here I would choose a4. So I consider other options to be not so dangerous. Let me explain. So first of all, g4, Brian's idea. Well, it looks like a strong attack by the first glance, but it has a certain nuance. Because right now, this attack can be punished. How do we usually punish a kingside attack? Who knows? Okay, so I'm answering the question that Peter here wrote. So how is Scheveningen Sicilian different than Kant defense, Kant variation of it just looks the line of the Kant. Well, Peter, this is what I just said. So originally, Scheveningen is much older than any other opening, like Najdorf or Sicilian. So that's why this type of the position is called Scheveningen. But you can get such a position if you play Sicilian or if you play Najdorf. You can transpose. So I get this position, transposing it from Kan. Well, if you want, you can call it a line of a Kan, but originally it's Scheveningen. So, well, guys, thank you for your suggestions. Yes. No, well, actually, Shahred, I have something to say about it. Not with a sacrifice. We usually punish a side attack with a counter attack in the center. We are trying to open the position in the center because of several reasons. First of all, opening the center may provide us with a counterplay through the center. Second, we open the position and we can bring our pieces to the king side if needed. And of course, when the center is open, it's easier to exchange. It's easier to exchange attacking pieces. E5 here doesn't work so well. So E5, they can go knight f5, for example. And this is a kind of a problem because this is a weakness. The knight is into the attack. And if you decide to take it, which usually happens, then g takes a5 and they have the g file open. So, well, it's not losing, but it can be an issue. No, it's d5. John is absolutely correct. Why? Now g5 is just a blunder. Knight takes a pawn. e5 to keep the position close looks good, but then black gets a very comfortable position after knight e4. So we cannot tolerate the knight in the center. Knight takes, pawn takes. And well, let's say c3, trying to capture this pawn, and b6. Not b5 because of a4. So if you play b5, which we typically play in Sicilian, then it's a4. And what do we have? It seems we have to take and then make a6 a weakness. Or we can push. When the knight is on c3, it's really good when you can push the pawn to b4. But here, when there is a pawn, they take, they open the file, and our queen is, well, has to move, and we can hardly find a good spot for the queen in this position. So probably b8, but it's we should somehow get to b8. So that's why just b6, queen c2, and you play bishop b7 and defend everything. And because of this pawn, all these ideas to attack h7 are blocked. Even there is no possibility of a rook lift. So, and I cannot see how this pawn can be protected, but I see how it can be defended. And maybe the control over this square, let's say rook f2, bishop here, but then knight d7, knight here, and knight d3 at least. So it's not a problem. Even if you lose this pawn, there will be strong counterplay through this diagonal. So don't be afraid to play it. It looks really good for black. But maybe it's also possible to take here because g5 is coming. taking with the knight is a must. Knight takes, and maybe this pawn is the object of the attack. That's absolutely right. White tries to attack it, but they cannot. And look at the g4 move in this position. So if the pawn was on g2, I think black would experience problems. But because in this open position, white exposed the king, then the king is vulnerable and g4 is hanging, for example. Okay, so Brian, in which position f5? So d5, f5? No, it's not, because knight e4, this pawn is protected. Okay, so you want to flip the board because you are mainly learning Sicilian. Okay, let me do this. Because I actually wanted to show white ideas. F5 in the final position. Okay, so e takes d5. Oh, probably you're talking about this variation. This, c3, this. And the 5 in this position. Well, you have to keep an eye about the e6 pawn then. Maybe if you first do bishop d5, then f5 is possible, I agree. So e takes d5, knight takes, bishop f3. Here, black can just play knight c6. And taking this pawn leads to serious problems, rook d8. I'm not going to show you all variations here, but at least I want you to understand because of which nuances of the position black is able to hold to successfully withstand the attack and even obtain a counterplay in case of g4. So c4, defending, knight b4. You want to take advantage of the pins. And if the bishop moves, it's c4 hanging. So probably queen f3. But even this doesn't help. Knight takes, c takes. Who can guess the move? Well, bishop c5 looks interesting, but I don't like this pin. Okay, so h5, ruining the pawn structure. So if they take, looks like they have several extra pawns. Then with queen c4, we are able to collect all these pawns. Why h4 is required? Because then the knight doesn't get the f5 square. Well, even queen c4 right away looks good. What else? So if they try to defend, then still queen c4 works. Yeah, queen c4 still works. We take there. So just one of the lines that explains. So the kingside attack should be punished with d5. What other moves to consider? Well, that was... Let's talk about bishop f3. So now the main idea of doing this move fails because of e5. And then there is a double attack. So the only way to stop it is knight d5. But knight d5 means a pawn loss at least. For example, take, bishop takes, and well, at least we have pawn down, or maybe bishop first takes, and then the knight takes with a fork, so it's a problem. That's why here you have to react with knight c6. For example, knight takes, and here the line continues with knight a4, but even this position is fine. Bishop b7. Well, knight b6, bishop b6 right now do not make sense. The idea of knight a4 was actually to not let black playing this move, so c4, preventing d5. Queen c2. Okay, so here c5, blocking the bishop. Queen c2, they defend on e4. Then we bring the knight there. They bring the knight. And who can guess how to continue, how to improve our pieces, and which plan to come up with? Because right now, black's position is good. They have almost no weaknesses. Well, d6 is partially weakness. Well, e5 weakens the d5 square a lot. Also, e5 keeps the position closed. f5 is interesting, but I think they're gonna take. And then you have problems with the e6. No, well, opening the rook is not the only goal of our position. We should somehow regroup our pieces to get them coordinated. And I can give you a hint. The position is closed. Bishop f6. Yeah, Brian, you are on the right way. Bishop f6 is one of the candidate moves. But I think you played too early. The key square is d4. And once you set a knight on d4 and the bishop on f6, it becomes much better for you. So the move that you need to play is knight b8. Then knight c6, knight d4, bishop f6. Maybe bishop f6, then knight d4. Depends on how they play. And the position is approximately equal according to the engine. So here, well, right now the engine shows plus 0.2, but if you let him think for maybe an hour, then it says zeros. So this is the setup that you should reach. And they don't have any attack because you dominate in the center. So bishop f3 doesn't look so good. However, this is a very common move. Let's talk about queen e1. So the idea is to bring the queen there, try to get the control over e5, pressure g7, maybe push e5 at a certain moment. But this allows us to speed up development, and we are threatening with this. So either bishop f3 or a3 is a must. If so, then bishop b7. And then it looks fine. So for example, still a3 because we have enough attackers. Knight goes there, then knight goes there, and I don't understand how they survive. And every time when you see this move, it's very playable to just move the knight to e8 because with the knight there, you tie two pieces to the attack of g7. Now they have a problem with e4. So that's why this plan fails. What else? King h1. Yeah, king h1. Still, the king moves away from these continuations on this diagonal, and one of the ideas is to play g4, then b5. And again, how to play? It still seems that bishop f3 must be played, but then the bishop is already on b7, and black doesn't have any problem. So maybe e5 is a problem, because after d takes, f takes, we cannot take there. The rook is hanging. But we can play this move, and this pawn is a weakness. Or they can start with this. Now, if we take, they have a strong initiative. So knight fd7. Not knight d5. Knight d5, they take on d5, and you have an isolated pawn. No, it doesn't make sense. Knight fd7 to illustrate that this is a weakness. Now, bishop there, bishop b7, they try to attack, but it's too late because bishop h7 right now doesn't work. And we don't want to wait until queen h5. We first exchange this bishop, and without this bishop, there is no attack. So king moves to avoid bishop h6. So it might be dangerous, but it seems that black is ready for everything. So king h1 doesn't fully work. And in my opinion, the only logical response is a4. The only way to fight um, for opening advantage is to play a4 and not let black to develop their pieces. Okay, there was a question by Shahred. After king h1, what about e5? So let me explain why this move doesn't work. So you should play e5 when they don't have a tempo gaining move. Well, here they can play there, taking here. So you have to liquidate it, then e takes. And now with the bishop here, they are able to control these squares. So it's still playable, but black is a little worse. E5, well, the idea of playing e5, oh, let me illustrate one more thing. So, for example, let's say bishop f3, knight c6, and if, for example, in this position, they play something, how do people play? Let's say they play queen e1. So this is where e5 works, but if you play e5 right away, they take on c6. B takes, and maybe they continue with f5, closing the position. Maybe they do anything else, and your pawns may be potentially the object of the objects of the attack. But instead, there is a very common idea that you guys, especially those of you who play Scheveningen, who play Sicilian, you must know about it. So who knows which exact well, trick or maneuver we should make in this position to be able to get to get maybe approximately equal or slightly better position. Okay, so thanks. Yeah, so you guys are mainly correct. Well, Brian, I don't see the point of knight b4 move. You are not even attacking there. Maybe you want to play e5 and then capture on c2. It does make sense, but what if they start with a3? It looks like you have to go back to c6. Instead, it should be knight takes d4 played. They take with the bishop and then you play e5. Why that? Because after this, let's say bishop retreats, you play bishop e6 and look at your position. It's really good. All of your pieces are where they should stay. This bishop is doing a lot of work. The queen is targeting c2. You block the enemy bishop. The knight may be improved. Maybe you go there and instead push the pawn there. And because there are a lot of light squares weakened, you can use these diagonals for the bishop. Of course, they may continue, for example, with this move, trying to take advantage of the pin. So what do you think how to play here? There are two moves which works well. Well, even bishop d6 works well here. Three moves. Well, b5, you have this hanging. You cannot play b5. But bishop d6 looks good in this position. If there was no bishop here, then they would take on f6. Okay, so I'm waiting for your suggestions. Okay, so no, it's not knight d7. So it's bishop c5. So I'm reading comments on YouTube too. So it's bishop c5, and now what? Well, they cannot take on e5 because the bishop is pinned. So this is one of the reasons why Karpov in his game preferred to play king h1 first to avoid these complications. And now, well, this is fine again. So this is the next move. If the knight was hanging, king h8, because this trick, this knight exchange and e5 happens in many variations. Well, the other move here could be rook e8, because if they take, then we have a discovered attack and then we win. Even if they take with the queen, we first exchange and then do a discovered attack. What if they go back? Okay, good question. Then you take, they take, you play bishop e6, and then you remaneuver your knight to e5. And once you set your knight on e5, all of your pieces are good. So here you may ask me how to deal with this move. If, let's say, we assume that the pawn on c2 is not hanging. Actually, it's not. You should take with the bishop. And then you should still relocate the knight on e5. Right now, you cannot do it because your bishop is hanging, so you have to play this move, what hangs this pawn. They have to defend it, and you have time to bring the knight to e5. Once it happens, make sure that your position is very good, and, well, there is no risk. Well, there is always a risk to lose, but I would say after knight e5, black has good chances to play for a win. So please remember about this idea. It's very common in Scheveningen. Okay, so the move that should be played is a4. I think after a4, white may try to obtain some advantage. Now let me flip the board again, because, well, I'm going to talk about the ideas for white today mainly. Well, so what actually we did. So I demonstrated several ideas that white has in Scheveningen. In my opinion, a4 is the strongest. In my opinion, and according to my analysis, a4 is the strongest option. And this is what we're gonna work. This is what we're gonna discuss by analyzing this position from the white end. Of course, there is a possibility for black to still find a way of how to get the position very close to equality, but I will tell you about which nuances of the position may provide white with potential chances to win the game. Not to win the game, but to play for a win, where they can add pressure and probably provoke black to make a mistake. But of course, if black knows how to play its equal position anyway. And if white makes a mistake, it's possible for black to play for a win, of course. Okay, so the question by Shahret: why don't we bring the rook on a7 and then maneuver it somewhere? Well, the rook on a7 is the object of the attack. So there is always a discovered attack, like knight b5, knight a6. So be accurate with this move. I know only one line when the rook is on a7. It's when the bishops are exchanged on a7. So, okay, let me quickly show you. So it's in this variation. This, knight goes there, bishop goes there, then knight c6. No, it's white to move. Let's say they castle, we play knight c6, they play queen e2. Here I play d6, so bishop goes there. Then knight g7, for example, this is how I play. And if they take on e7, then we take with the rook. And later, this rook goes to g7. Because the bishops are exchanged, the rook is not the object of the attack. But while the dark squared bishop, the white dark squared bishop exists, it is a problem. Okay, so let's go back where we are. So a4. a4 is what I suggest. Let me show you the way how black should continue here. Knight c6. So developing the knight and threatening with this exchange. So king h1, and now we have the position that was faced, which was played in the match between Karpov and Kasparov. So this position happened a lot. So rook e8, he's preparing for d4. Why doesn't he? I mean, for knight d4 and d5. Why doesn't he play knight d4 right away? Good point. Let me answer. So this, then they do not take, but move the queen to d3, let's say. And after this move, bishop e6, of course, but then rook a d1, let's say. And this is where a d6 is a target. So there is no possibility to remaneuver the knight, because every time the knight goes there, bishop d6. and white wins the pawn. Maybe black obtains a counterplay after that, but it doesn't compensate the full pawn, only half of the pawn probably. So rook a d8, let's say queen goes to g3, and d6 is always a problem. Well, it doesn't mean that it's not playable for black. It's playable, but it's not considered to be so good. And actually, Kasparov always rejected to play knight d4 in this position because he thought that white has a very small but very stable advantage. So if you don't have this option to take on d4 and play e5, then you'd better not take on d4 and play some other helpful moves. Well, for example, the engine actually thinks that this move is the best and this move is only second best. But our analysis shows that rook e8 is better. And now, actually, let's switch to the game between Karpov and Kasparov from there. After, I'm going to illustrate the way of how to fight a4 by the example of the game between Sergei Rublevsky and Lazaro Bruzon-Batista. This is quite a modern game because the games that Karpov and Kasparov played were played 40 years ago, and Rublevsky played recently, well, not recently, but maybe 15 years ago. Okay, so let's keep this one. Let's analyze this one. So they meet this position with a different move order. Can we do rook f3? I think it's too premature because the idea of rook f3 is to remaneuver the rook to h3, but the rook on h3 is always the object of the attack. So no, we cannot. I mean, a rook lift is a common plan, but it can be a tempo loss if you cannot move the rook to h3. So probably rook f3 is a good option when the position is more closed and let's say you already have the pawn there. So rook e8. Here, Karpov played bishop f3, which is common. And still, Garry rejected playing this line. So bishop a6, rook a d1, rook a d8, and then what white can do? So probably just bring the queen to d4 or just play in h3. So let's say queen d4. Or just, I like h3 move. So h6, bishop g3, for example, kind of just prophylaxis, opening the f file. And if you ask the engine, it says, well, it's approximately equal. White only, it's plus 0.2, but practically it's really hard to defend on d6. Always to keep pieces defending here. And black may run out of moves while white can try to improve their position. So Garry thought that white is better, and let's trust him. That's why he played rook b8. This is what I also suggest in my course on Chessable. So rook b8 move. We eliminate problems with this diagonal. Queen d2, and now knight d4 is played. Take, e5. Bishop goes to a7, rook attacks again, bishop goes to e3. So it's basically the same position. Okay, so what if we sacrifice the bishop? So you mean here? I don't think it works. So what's the purpose? Let's say knight h7, then they remaneuver like that, and this is the way how they secure the king with pieces, and such an attack doesn't cost a piece. Okay, so this is where he didn't take. E takes f4 was playable, but he did play this move, bishop d7. Typically, white has this resource, but it's not so good this time because of what? Which counterplay you may suggest for black here? Well, no, not d5 right away, right? Because d5 is just a pawn loss. If you play d5, they take with a knight, you take with your knight, they take with the queen, and then you cannot take on c2 because you have a lot of pieces hanging. So right now, d5 is a pawn sacrifice. So bishop c6, bishop c6, a5, grabbing more space. But this move, yes, because before is coming. And if knight goes there, then knight takes, bishop goes to c6 in case of the queen. And c2 is also hanging. So a takes b5, a takes b5. Let's say the rooks are exchanged, and then knight d5. Because before is a problem. So knight takes knight. If taking with the pawn means a loss of f5. So taking with the queen. But then with queen c6, there is no attack and nothing to be worried about. So if the queens are exchanged, even this endgame is better for black. So the queen should retreat. I mean, still queen c4. And this attack through the c file is stronger than any potential attacks on the king side, because with these pieces left and with lack of space on that side, I don't see the way of how to initiate the attack for white. Even black can always invade the enemy camp and force the white pieces to return back to defend their weaknesses. So f5 fails, a5. So with a5, some small advantage is still here for white. Rook a c8, bishop goes there. Bishop c6. So one of the ways of improvement is this bishop maneuver. You see, black doesn't want to take because d6 is vulnerable and no time to relocate. So bishop c6. And actually, now in the game, it was played queen d3. Which is a kind of inaccuracy. So here the best move is still this. And then let's say take. If bishop f4, it's fine. I will show you the game. Yes, it's in this game. So bishop f4 is fine. We have this position. We're gonna explain. We're gonna talk about this position later. So knight d5 at which moment? So right now you have this hanging. So if knight d5, they take with the bishop and they take here. Pawn takes. No, it doesn't. It's a blunder. So bishop b6. And then the queen moves. And then queen f4. And black experiences a lack of space. But it seems that with bishop d8, it's still possible to get the position approximately equal. So bishop d4, rook a6. But you see here, black has to play the only move. So their next move is this. Why rook e6 is played? Because this is what white wants to do and win this exchange. So it's a skewer with bishop g4. And if rook e6, then there is no skewer because it's a queen attack first. Well, and if let's say they play queen g3, still threatening with a skewer, then queen e8. And now if you take, again, it's a rook takes and bishop g4 is not a skewer, it's just a rook attack. And now there is a lot of pressure on e4. So d6 is a weakness, but e4 is a weakness too. And once these pawns are exchanged, the position becomes drawing. This is what happened in their game. So bishop c6, queen d3. So Garry made a mistake. He played queen d8. And that, well, this small inaccuracy would guarantee a promising position for him. So this, um, and then knight e4, for example. Well, yeah. So the pawn is hanging. So bishop f3 is a must, and then still rook e6. He played queen d8. So it takes 4. Well, there is no time for knight d5. Okay, let's continue with our analysis. It takes a4, bishop f4, bishop f8. So every time they capture there, e4 becomes hanging. Bishop f3, queen e7, targeting it one more time. So this move, for example, would lead to anything. d5 is not playable. If you play d5, for example, they're gonna play e5, and this is kind of challenging. Well, queen b4, and it's still playable, or queen e6, but it's better just to move the queen away, maybe to d7 or to c7, or just to play some prophylaxis first. Maybe even this prophylaxis with knight g4, knight e5. Doing this move actually is playable too, but then bishop g4. So, okay, let's play this, let's play that, and then relocate the knight to e5. This works. So bishop d6 was played. Everything was exchanged, and now he takes on e4. So some of you may say that, well, there is a tactical strike. It's rook c6. That's right. But Garry saw that. Rook takes c6, and now if, let's say, bishop e4, it's this. Bishop h7, king h7, this, but it's completely losing. For example, it's possible to play this move, threatening the pawn, as well as a back rank mate in case of like that. And if this move, then it's fine to play just rook e3 and win this pawn. So the position will be equal. So c4, you just play. Oh, you win this pawn, I think, this time. So the material is equal. That's why knight takes. What do you suggest for black in this position to restore material balance? Well, rook takes c2 seems interesting, but then b3 and knight c5. So rook c2, b3, if you attack here, it's knight c5. This is vulnerable, so they need to capture on b7 with the bishop and then probably try to take on a6. You have a back rank problem too. And they have to play h3 maybe. So, well, yes, it's playable, but there is a better way. If black wants a draw, if black wants a draw, they could play a better move. So I want you to find this better move. It's a kind of a tactical strike. Well, rook c2 we just discussed. Well, b6. Well, I don't like b6. Because this is how you let them to play with the two minor pieces. Instead, you can get two minor pieces for the rook back. You can play this, and there is a problem with a pin. Once the knight moves, it's a back rank mate. So if, let's say, you play this move with the idea of this, instead of taking the knight right away, which move would you suggest for black to play? Yes, it's f5. No, f5, not anything else, because you gonna win a piece for free, because if the piece moves, it's a checkmate. And if not, you just take it. Also, there is no back rank mate anymore because the king goes to f7. So here black is winning, of course. That's why Karpov realized that he has to give up 2 minor pieces for a rook and played king g1. And they played a few more moves, but this is a drawing position. The number of pawns is equal, and this is a rook and game. So this is where they agree to a draw. So one inaccuracy by both players, queen d3 and queen d8. Because of these two inaccuracies, well, they both played these two inaccuracies, but you see there is a lot of drawing potential for both. Now I'm going to show you how to fight against a4 with black pieces. Let's flip the board again. Okay, let me go back and answer the question of Shahred. So when queen d8, cannot they play f5? What do you mean? White. Okay, queen d8. Couldn't they play f5 in this position? Yes, they could, but this time d5 works because we already have enough defenders. So, okay, let's continue. The example of the game between Sergei Rublevsky and Lazaro Bruzon-Batista. So what did happen there? It was a slightly different move order. Don't pay attention to it. So 96 was played earlier. I'm not a fan of it. I would suggest bishop e7, the way I teach my students and the way I demonstrate in the course. So this is typical position. So a4 was played, castle, king h1, rook e8, and bishop f3 was played. This is where Bruzon Batista decided to take and play d5. Queen d2, he takes there, and then if he does knight d7, knight d5, he draws. But you remember there is a problem with this pawn. So I'm going to illustrate how he played to solve this problem. So rook e d8, defensive move, a5, rook a c8. Here, white needs somehow to play for a win. This move was actually better. Then we will have to make the rook move, and then they go the bishop back to try to attack. Well, black can try to make a draw, but if black is playing for a win, they must play this. If they take on d6, it's knight f2. And how to play? If, let's say, knight d5, then queen c2 works. Knight e7, rook e7, queen c2, this. The back rank is a problem, so rook d7. And it seems like a draw again. No, not a draw, but approximately equal position. So, but bishop e3 seems to be playable. Rook a4 was played. Very nice idea by Rublevsky. He wants the rook to join the attack because on a1 it's not doing much, and at the same time it has to protect the a5 pawn. He also protects on e4, which is important. And at a certain moment, he may relocate the rook to d4. So h6 as a prophylaxis. Rook b4, attacking there. Well, here we can take on a5, but the b7 pawn is more important. So rook d7. And this is where maybe first it did make sense to defend and then do other actions. But knight a4 was played. Well, it looks very natural because with the idea of queen a, which with the idea to force black to capture on a5, which this time is a blunder. Who can tell me what's wrong with queen a5? You think knight b6? I think I'm fine with knight b6. So knight b6, rook c2. Queen c2, queen b4. And if you take there, I take with my knight. Let's evaluate the position. So, well, I think there is a compensation. So we have 2 pawns to compensate the exchange. It should be fine. Okay, there is other suggestion, bishop h6. Well, I don't agree with this move because if the queen gets distracted, then these two are vulnerable, especially the rook on b4. So after queen e5, the problem is a discovered attack, this move. And then once the queen goes back, there is this. This is how the pawn on c2 is still in place, and it's no possibility to capture it. So black loses the exchange and has only one pawn as a compensation because c2 is protected. So queen a5 was... What do you mean, why can't we trade the queens? Because we lose a rook with a check. Of course we can trade the queens, but who wants to play without a rook? So no, it doesn't work. So it's just a simple discovered attack. So it does make sense to do tactics at this level because it helps really a lot. I would even say at my level, I should also practice with tactics before the tournaments to, well, just to keep fit in chess. Okay, so but there is a tactical strike that I want. Well, not a a kind of a strike. It's not queen c2. However, queen c2 is not. No, queen c2 is bad because they play knight b6 and they still win the exchange. So it looks fine. Because if they take with the rook, there is a problem with the back rank, and at least black can get rid of, well, save one rook and then have time to move the other rook. But if bishop takes on d2, then no, it doesn't work. So now it's a fork and black loses the exchange. So not queen c2. Which move? What I want you to remember is that the black's position is very flexible and black is ready for any white's actions. You just need to find proper moves. So d5 here. Well, the idea looks interesting, but d5... Well, yeah, it just hangs the queen. That's right. Okay, so you guys are focused on this pawn, on this weakness, maybe on this attack, maybe on this attack, but you will play on the other side, g5. What now? Okay, so there was another suggestion by John, so doing rook d8. I don't think it's a good idea, and knight b6, because then your pieces are passive. They're paralyzed, and they can just play this move, and I don't know if you can defend on c4, c5. No, you... c4, c4, before c5. Well, this is a losing position. So you see a4 and a5 has some potential, and accurate play is required. So g5. What now? The bishop is hanging. In the game, they took. But if not, if let's say they play this move, it's queen c2. Because right now, knight b6 fails. You take there, the rook must take, and there is a back rank check, which allows you to get rid of this fork. Maybe then the bishop has to go there. Well, yes, but this is there is no pin anymore, and d5 works because you attack the rook with a tempo. So let's say this, you take, queen takes, you take there, you lose the exchange back, but you force them to take there, and now you can pin. So both bishops are hanging. If rook d4, you play this move. And now if they take on c6, how do they defend against the back rank? Oh, no, it's defended. Okay, they probably go there and then g4. Oh, wait a sec. Yeah, the bishop is in a dangerous position. So this. Well, here the number of pawns is equal, but black is playing for a win with a strong attack, right? So bishop a3 doesn't work neither. That's why after g5, the only way is to sacrifice. But then these pieces are enough to cover the king. So knight b6, knight h7, queen d2, bishop g5. So probably queen e2 was better. But then we can save the rook. In the game, it was queen e1. No, we cannot save the rook. So in the game, it was queen e1. Maybe there is no big difference. But rook e7, this is where we have two minor pieces for a rook. But white has two pawns as a compensation. However, we have a bishop pair. So that's why the position, well, should be approximately equal, but it seems that black is better because two bishops here plays more important role. So queen g3, rook a5, defending here, trying to get the knight back to the game. Rook b3 to try to create some problems, but bishop a6, rook c3, and now queen takes a5. This pawn was hanging anyway, and the back rank is covered. However, rook d6 is playable. Bishop f6, threatening with an attack. They stop it with h4, and knight f8, bringing the knight back to the game. h5, but rook g5, and after the queen goes there, the knight jumps, and it looks like there is a serious problem. So rook goes to d1, and queen e5. This is hanging. Well, they played c3 to defend it. King h7 prophylaxis. And this is where black is better, but white plays the most significant mistake, queen d4. And then black simply punishes them. Maybe white was low on time, and that's why he played such a significant mistake. So how would you play here? Yes, you're right. So it's rook h5, attacking the queen. So now, if they take on h5, then the queen is lost. If they play king g1, it's still a problem, knight e2, and then it's a fork they have to take. Now you can deliver a check with the queen and capture on d4 with your bishop. So this is where he resigned. So this is how I want you to fight against a4. And well, by the first glance, you have to get approximately passive position. Well, not approximately, but a little passive position. But remember that your position is very solid. And if only you search for the way of how to, if you search for a solution, if your opponent creates problems, you will likely to find it. You just need to look for, and you need to understand the nuances, what's going on. So who could know that such move like h6 will be helpful and the main idea will be g5? But such a nuance exists. And mainly such a nuance exists because the pawn on c2 is vulnerable and there is a possibility of delivering the check through c1. Okay, so what we're gonna do next? I will share one insight with you, and then we're gonna play the games. But before we continue, I would like to, I would like to show you something. Yeah, actually, there are several things I would like to share. It's a queries. Okay. So first of all, those of you who would like to support my webinars, you can donate using this button. So of course, the webinars are free, but uh, if you enjoy them, if you want to support me and my team, so I'm working with a few people who help me. Well, one is a FIDE master. He helps me to prepare the games. The other one is, well, it's not a chess player. She just helps me to prepare announcements, send emails to you, as well as prepare the homework. So I would appreciate any help. So it's really easy. You click this button and then enter the amount that you want to send me. And then you click PayPal, after which it redirects you to the PayPal and where you can enter your account and then transfer this amount to me. Second, well, if you are interested in Sicilian, I kindly recommend you to get this course. So let me copy the link. The link was copied already. Yeah, this is what I recommend, because this is where I not only cover this line, but a lot of other positions. It's not just Sicilian. It also covers everything that can be played on the way to Sicilian. For example, win gambit against Sicilian. What else? Well, even knight c3 and d3 strategies. So this course covers a lot. And you see, this course has a very high rating, 465. So I would say maybe 485. I would rank it as 485, not 65. Well, there are a few things that I would love to improve there, but they require hard work. Maybe more model games, maybe more for beginners. But the course is really good. So if you also want to support me, you can just purchase the course, because part of the amount goes to Chessable, part goes to me. What else? Oh, will there be a reduction for the videos of that course soon? You mean, am I planning to add more videos for Sicilian course? I was thinking about it for beginners. Not soon, not soon. Maybe in half of a year, because right now I have to finish the course about tactics. I'm recording it. There is another thing I wanted to share with you. But I think I should add the part which I can call I should add the part which is for beginners mainly, because very often like 1,200 or 1,000 players meet a very weird move by white and black has to punish white. So I'm going to illustrate how. Will there be, is this course going to be on sale? Well, I don't know. They do not provide me with this information, unfortunately, so Chessable decides on their own. But I think they do kind of a sale once 2 months, once in 2 months, sometimes more rare. So I don't know, but they will do it. I just don't know when. So you can monitor it from time to time, at least every week, or you can add it to your favorite list. And once you see there is a discount, you can purchase it. I don't have this information. I hope they will, but I don't have this information right now. Okay, what else I wanted to share with you? I'm working on the plan for our group lessons. So oops, no, this is the wrong one. No. So I'm going to do a group class. I mean, this is a course which would consist of 24 hour or 24 lessons. Each lesson will be 1 hour and a half. I already prepared the topics that we're gonna cover. I did already prepare some content. The course is going to start in October, maybe in the middle of October, and will last for 12 weeks. Each week we're gonna have 2 lessons, I think on Monday and Friday, to not interfere our webinars. And this will be, I mean, these lessons, group lessons, will be paid, of course. I mean, they are not free. Only our webinars are free. I don't know which price right away, but I expect each lesson to cost less than $10. And well, you can look at the topics that I prepared or gonna prepare. And after the class, you're gonna get the recording, PGMs, as well as the homework where your task will be to work on puzzles. This course is mainly for 12 to 1500 rated player. But if you are 1000, let's say, or if you are 1700, I'm sure you will definitely find it interesting. So these are live sessions, 2 times a week, and each lesson will last for 1 hour and a half. So which topic you might be interested? Well, I think all of them, like looking for a threat or how to protect from a threat, and how to implement the threats into your plan. What else? Well, some ordinary topics which everyone wants to know, as well as some specific, like how to play with initiative. And also I covered the end games too, and weak squares that we're gonna talk about. The material will be different from what we learn at the webinars, so I'm going to prepare completely different games. Maybe some of the games will be similar, but just a few, if I find them really well. So the art of exchange, when to exchange pieces. And of course, on each lesson, there will be a lot of tactics and a lot of, well, and the homework, because without tactics, without doing tactics on a regular basis, I think it's unlikely that anyone can progress. So the key idea is, or at the lesson, is to, I'm going to provide you with some understanding of chess, or how to play in this or that position, how to initiate this or that plan. I will explain tactics, and your task by doing puzzles is to improve your calculation abilities, as well as improve your tactical vision as a homework. So 24 lessons, the program is already done, so some content is already done too. So follow my announcements. I'll share it. Okay, let's go back to the game. Not back to the game, but back to our second task. I'll share an insight of what I gonna play if I meet this position for white. And for such purposes, again, we took the game between Karpov and Kasparov. So they finally reached the same position that we are discussing here, bishop e3. So rook e8, bishop f3, rook b8. Queen d2. So here bishop d7 was played. What should white do in this position? So yeah, it's still playable to continue with this move. Instead, we can make the moves on the board like that, then e5. Oh, wait, actually the queen takes. Sorry, the queen takes. Then e5, queen goes there. Well, e takes f4, bishop takes f4, but it's it's quite hard to play here. Rook fd1, and if you remember in Bruzon Batista game, it was which rook? One rook was there, the other rook was there. So, but I think it's better to bring the knight to b3 here. Because how they can play bishop d7, or when they already play bishop d7. So queen d2, bishop d7, then knight b3 works really well. Because there is no this opportunity, and e5 doesn't make sense at all, because at least we have f5. Because e5 is good when it forces us to exchange or move the hanging piece, or they have to exchange. But once white is ready to play f5, then it seems that white already has some advantage here. So b6, g4, this is what happened in the game. And well, we will continue. Here, Garry played bishop c8 and then remaneuvered his bishop. That was very slow, and white was able to obtain advantage. But your guys, your task now is to play this position against me. So let me send this position to you. You can take a look. Now we switch to chess.com. Okay, the question from okay, so yeah, I see your questions, guys. So Michael and Shahred. So the group class that I'm going, the course of group lessons, all the lessons will be conducted. And if you didn't have time to participate in that or this class, you will get an email. Actually, every student gets an email with a recording of this course, as well as with the homework. Maybe there will be some summary, like a kind of a presentation where I explain the main points that we covered. If I have time, I'll do it. But if not, there will be just the recording and the homework. So yes, I definitely understand that some people are from the US, which is very close to my time zone. Some are from Europe, which is plus 4 or 5 hours, depends on which country it is. That's why, yeah. And of course, some have plans. So you're gonna miss this or that class. So you should have the opportunity to repeat it. Okay, can we go 95 after e5? Maybe. But let's play this. So it's sent. I'm switching to chess.com now. So let me share the screen again. We're gonna play the game. So tell me your usernames. So what I ask you to do, I send you the position where you're gonna play with white pieces. What are our next steps? So I go on chess.com and send you a challenge. Let me know your username and I'll send you a challenge. Okay. So we're gonna play with 15 plus 10, but first let me custom position odd, 15 plus 10. And this. I'm playing with black pieces and you are trying to defeat me. Okay, so first, John. Okay, the challenge is sent. Let's make a few moves and then we will I will send another challenge to the next player. So you have to accept it, otherwise it's gonna be cancelled. Oh, wait a sec. So which position? I sent it this. I sent the position to the chat because before that I just sent it to, yeah, okay, Michael. Yes, so this is what we have. White to move. So white is trying to find a way of how to take their advantage because black builds a kind of a hedgehog. Almost all the squares on the fifth rank are covered, but at the same time, we don't have space, and this is the biggest issue. Mm, 10 seconds left. Can you please make the move? So with some pressure here. Okay, I would like to illustrate one of the ideas that are quite common for Sicilian positions. So knight a5, I want to get to c4. Well, this doubles my pawns on the a file, which is a serious problem. However, may provide me with some benefits. Okay, I can make a pre-move and start a new game. So, John, again, it's 10 seconds. Okay, bishop e2. Okay, so not taken on a5. Okay, if so, I want to play knight c4. Okay, I'm going to send another challenge. 15 plus 10, pin. This, I'm playing with black. So I'm going to play against Shaharet. So this. So the challenge is sent. Please accept it. So if anybody else wants to play, let me know your username. Okay. So in order to accept these challenges, you have to enter the the live section. So you should click on the pawn and then click play, and then you will see that a challenge. So you will see that there is a challenge and you need to accept it. Okay, fine. The game aborted. Why? Okay, let's try one more time. New game. Um, 15 plus 10. 10. No. Okay, it's sent again. So if you don't make a move within 40 seconds, I think it will be aborted. Okay, queen d3. This is what John played. Well, I no longer need the rook there, so I'm going to protect. Queen d3 now. I think queen d3 falls under knight b4 attack. Okay, I have to play knight b4. So my intention is to play d5, but e takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes, pawn takes. No, doesn't work right away. Queen d2. Okay, let me play this move. And I'm starting a new game. Against Johnny. F5. Interesting. It's a logical move. Well, if I exchange the queens, then it's okay, but I have to defend everything. Okay, I can win this pawn. Then, okay, if I take, it's this, knight d2. I think I'm fine with it. So let me take the pawn. A5. Take, rook takes. Okay, let's take. Oh yeah, I need to open the positions, generally speaking. Okay, Johnny, there is a challenge, so please accept it. The challenge is sent. Rook a5. So a6 is still not hanging. What do I have here? Knight c2 doesn't work. It's protected. Ah, no, it's not. Knight c2, queen c2, rook b, knight b3. And if queen b3, I take on a5. Looks playable. Take. I take there. Then it's queen, rook a6. c4, but queen c4. Queen c4 doesn't work. Do I have anything else? Maybe d5 now. Takes. Okay, let's take on c2. Okay, here I take on e6. So it looks like the challenge was cancelled. Okay, this. Knight d4. So originally I was thinking about another move. I was thinking about knight d2 move. Okay, this move. Threatening here and threatening with b3. So bishop d7 is a must. Queen b3, queen a5. I win a pawn. Yeah, So I'm a pawn up here. Okay, rook d2. What's the purpose? Okay, let me try to play b5 with the idea of b4. Okay, this move, but the queen is not attacking anything. So how should I play? Okay, let me think. So how to accept the challenge? You should go to the play section of chess.com and the challenge will appear. Can't create because either is currently playing. Ah, so I cannot play several games simultaneously. It's weird. Okay, just king f8 to bring the king. Okay, there is a tactics, I think. I don't see it, but that's why I just take. So king f8. No, it's written not accepting challenges. So you should check your uh, settings. Okay, this move, interesting. Attacking my queen. So queen b4 is a must. This move, e5 is hanging. Well, this is not hanging. Yeah, it's a good move. Well, I can try this. B4 is a very nice idea. Okay, I can challenge once again. Okay, finally. Okay, yeah, it looks good because now this is hanging. So I have to find the tactical strike to save everything. Hmm. Yeah, this is a good move. How to defend. Okay, if I move my knight, it's queen d7. Yeah, looks like I have to do it. If I do queen c4, it's bishop e2. Bishop c6, bishop c6. No, bishop c6, I lose my rook. Rook c6, rook c3, rook c3, they take, I take, and this is hanging. Okay, it looks like this is a must. Knight e2. Knight e2 allows me to play bishop b5, maybe to activate my bishop. So here I'm playing mainly by intuition. Oh, the game. Oh my God, I missed it. Rematch. Okay, I'll challenge you once again. Yes, perfect. Queen d7, I take on c3. Rook d1. Okay, knight a5. It's the same idea. Maybe I could try something else actually. No, but okay. Yeah, looks like I'm in the trouble here. G4. So this to vacate the d7 square for the knight. b3. And what if I do this to attack on e4? What's the purpose? Protecting the knight? Okay, knight e4. 6. Queen g2 defending. Okay, that's right. So if I play queen b7, it's e5. No, it cannot be e5. g5, but I take on e4. Am I missing anything? I have more attackers. Rook d1, rook c2. So bishop f6. Ah, you win the exchange, and because of this pin. Very nice idea. I didn't see it. Okay, fine. So my knight is hanging, so what can I do? Yeah, let's take. Okay, rook b2. Okay, I take with my pawn to improve the pawns. King g5. Okay, there is no threat, so I can target this knight. If I play this, it's here, but I can then move my rook safely. Is there anything else? Okay, let's play it. Bishop d4. Yeah, this bishop is bad. So I want to play f6 or e5, but I don't know how. I can start with this move, probably. So this bishop f4, d takes e4 should be fine. So if I take, it's g4, 5, okay. Okay, let's move back. This move, I have to take it. Take. It's, okay, rook d7 here. A5. Bishop e3. Let me open the position. E5, f5. And the bishop is hanging. Okay, let's move the bishop with the tempo. Rook a7, rook a2. Here I take with the king. This should be a draw. No, this can be a win. So this move, if I exchange, okay, let me activate my pieces. This attacking here. Good point. E5. Let's do e5. This take queen d2. Yeah, this should be winning. Three. Oh, I could play three, maybe it was better. This is where I promote the pawn, of course. Now I take on c2. Oh, I don't think we should play until a checkmate. So, because I know how to deliver a checkmate to the only king. So, queen b2 or queen b3? Queen b3. Okay, take. And the checkmate on c1. Okay, fine. Okay, how to play in this position? Bishop here. And this is what I'm trying to play for a win. Yeah, welcome. So participate in my other events or even participate in my group lessons course. So everything is protected. Let's now get the king to the game. How? I don't know how, but let's say g6. Okay, fine. Yeah, e5 is my goal. Because I want to make the pawns weak. Right, take. But then I'm gonna play e3 and then e2. So e2 with e1. Then let's save the bishop. So I don't know how to win here. This g5 pawn is pretty dangerous, but at the same time, e2 pawn ties down enemy pieces. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's activate the king. Well, I don't want to play this with the pawn because of this attack. So not now. Of course, the plan is to get the a pawn into the game, but how? Okay, let me activate the rook. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to play this move, but then I see that they can capture. Okay, let's delivery check then. Because I want to gain this pawn then. Mm-hmm. How to play? So rook d4 is the next move. How can I activate the king? Okay, let me play. Oops, my rook is hanging. Okay, just here. Now I can try to advance this, but this will be a weakness. So I think I should bring the king to the game. Let's first play h5 to fix the pawn structure there, because if my king gets activated, I think it favors me. I can use my other pawn to support the f pawn too. Actually, maybe because of that, it could make sense to play h6, not h5. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get the king to the game. Okay, five. Not sure whether this move is good, but I'm trying to attack h4 with my pieces. Mm-hmm. So rook c5. Well, let's do this. And then what? Because and then rook h3 maybe, or rook d1 doesn't work. Well, this move works. Rook d4. Is it winning or not? Maybe not. Or I can just move here. No, I cannot. Okay, rook d5 for a while. Okay, rook a1. Rook a1 doesn't contain a threat, but it stops a5. Oh, it doesn't stop a5. Okay, let's try a5. Yeah, we can go king f5, but what then? So bishop here, maybe, or what? The pawn is hanging, so that's the problem. I can play this move, then rook a3. Or I can play a4, but then rook goes back. Yeah, a4 rook goes back. It doesn't work. Should be something like that. Taking g6. So if a4, the rook cannot take on a4. Rook goes g6. Okay, let's instead try to capture this pawn. I move there. So this is hanging. Okay, a4. So the idea is this, and then rook b4, and then I can play this move. Funny. Okay, so this rook a4. No, d5 maybe. Okay, let's try king g4. I think it works better. No. Oh, it take, rook a4. Check. It's a pity. I didn't see it. So check king d3 and I cannot win the pawn. Instead, I can play this move and win the pawn like that. Maybe it's still winning because of rook g4 move here. I can take this pawn with my king and then I'm 2 pawns up. Oh, I'd better use this move first. Well, it should be winning if I'm not mistaken. Check and let's advance my pawns. Check. Yes. Uh-huh. Okay, rook h3 stops the check at least. So king goes to g3. So a repetition. If I play, well, Well, it should be winning, so king h2 check. Well, and then I cannot hide my king. Maybe king f. Now let's do king f4. And what I have is to come closer with my king. Mhm. Now let me try this. This 5. h4. Rook f2 check. Yeah, deserves attention. But I want to improve my king's position first. So since then, my pawn is not hanging. So I can play rook c2 to avoid checks. Or this move, and then g2. Because the rooks is not there. So rook f2, king g4, this move. And then I lose my pawn. Okay, no, it doesn't. It fails. Okay, let's do rook c2. Okay, do I block or what? d2. No, I should block. Okay, check. So g2, another check. And if I block, it's a draw. If not, it's still a draw. King e1, rook h4. Okay, rook f2 then. So g2, king h4. No. g2, check. King e2. King e2 should work. Take this. Okay. King e2, take. g2. Yeah, king e2 works. Okay, fine. Thank you for the game, guys. It was really difficult to play this in game, so this is what I should work on. So see you next Sunday. Let's finish for today. Bye bye.